Chapter 52. Looking at his junior brother's bitter face, Yang Kai smiled and said, "Don't be so nervous, I just want to earn a few contribution points. Don't worry, I'll be very gentle, I guarantee you won't feel any pain." After 10 breaths of time, this junior brother fell to the ground and Yang Kai walked away. Xianxia stood on the treetop and saw everything. Her eyes narrowed into crescents and a faint smile appeared on her face. Witnessing her junior brother, who had lost 147 consecutive matches, slowly grow stronger gave birth to a sense of accomplishment. Although Yang Kai's growth had nothing to do with her, after 2 years, Xianxia had become accustomed to secretly observing this junior brother. This was like a silent guardian. Yang Kai becoming stronger made Xianxia feel happy for no reason. Beside coiling dragon stream, Yang Kai was still cultivating. 5 days had passed since he planted the 3 suns fruit, and the sapling had grown to a height of 1 zhang. There were big changes almost every day. At this time, the 3 suns fruit tree was swaying with the wind. 3 bright red flowers were blooming and it would probably bear fruit in a few days. At that time, Yang Kai would be able to eat to his heart's content. These past few days, Yang Kai's cultivation had been quite fruitful. He had condensed a drop of yang liquid in his dantian and his true yang tactics had become more and more refined. The daily task of sweeping the floor was taken over by someone else, so Yang Kai had a lot more time to cultivate. These past few days, Yang Kai had also been inquiring about Storm House's movements. After all, he had killed Qing Xiaofeng and Nu Tao, so it was difficult to guarantee that he wouldn't attract trouble. But what made Yang Kai feel relieved was that Storm House hadn't made any moves. It seemed that Hu Mei Air hadn't betrayed him. This woman was still trustworthy. The 8th day of the first month had arrived, and it was finally time to calculate the contribution points. On the 8th day of last month, he had just obtained the unyielding golden skeleton. At that time, he was only at the tempered body 3rd stage. In just a month, he had already reached the tempered body 8th stage. This kind of cultivation speed was unrivaled under the heavens. Even those so-called heavenly gifted geniuses, with the help of pills, would not be able to achieve this kind of speed. After entering the contribution hall, Treasurer Meng, who was sitting behind the counter, suddenly narrowed his eyes and looked at Yang Kai in amazement. He had not seen him for many days, but Yang Kai's strength had increased a lot. Treasurer Meng's surprise only lasted for a moment before he regained his composure. He wasn't an ignorant person, on the contrary, his vision far exceeded that of anyone in High Heaven Pavilion, so even though Yang Kai's strength had increased a lot, he wasn't surprised. He had seen many people who shone brightly in their youth, only to end up with nothing in the end. "Treasurer Meng." Yang Kai greeted. "You're here to trade?" Old man Meng sized him up. I have 59 contribution points this month, right? Sweeping the floor gave him 10 points, and defeating a person every day gave him 2 points. This month, there were 3 days when Yang Kai was not in the sect. In total, he had fought 27 battles, but last time when he was drinking with sassafras in the sect, he was caught red-handed by a Dark Hall disciple, so 5 points were deducted. So in total, he had 59 contribution points. Not bad. What do you want to trade? 29 dead Jedi tree grass? 33-leaved chaos spirit flowers. The incense burner had not been used for many days because of the lack of materials. This thing had no use for cultivating yuan qi, but it had great benefits for tempering the body. Old man Meng looked at him with a profound expression before walking into the back hall. He then took out the things that Kai Yang needed and brought them out. Yang Kai was about to reach out to take them, but Treasurer Meng took them back and asked with a smile, "Little Yang Kai, can you tell me what you ate last time in Black Wind Mountain?" He was still interested in Yang Kai's fortuitous encounter. Yang Kai spouted nonsense. "I don't know, it was just a red fruit. I ate it when I was hungry." Red fruit, red fruit? Old man Meng fell into deep thought, but he could not think of a corresponding spirit fruit. After a while, Treasurer Meng shook his head. "Forget it. But you don't want to save up contribution points to exchange for my marrow cleansing pills?" In the past, Yang Kai had to be very careful with every little bit of contribution points he spent, but now he was very generous. This month's contribution points had just entered his account, so it was not like him to spend them all. Yang Kai smiled, I won't exchange them. Only by working hard can I become strong. I was too short-sighted to put my hopes on a pill. Hearing this, Treasurer Meng looked at him deeply and nodded with a smile. Not bad, not bad. I didn't expect you to be able to see this clearly. Little Yang Kai, I'll give you a piece of advice. Please speak, Treasurer Meng. Work hard, don't waste your fortuitous encounter. Disciple understands. After leaving the contribution hall, Yang Kai ran towards the coiling dragon stream. After summoning the incense burner and throwing in the herbs, Yang Kai began to practice his fists and kicks at the coiling dragon stream. A familiar pressure followed, but this pressure was not something Yang Kai could withstand with his current strength. After a short while, he was already panting and exhausted, but he did not give up. Instead, he continued to practice, slowly opening his fists and kicks. Every movement was extremely difficult and obscure. His physical strength was like a flood leaking out of a dam, and his mind was also drowsy and exhausted. After a while, Yang Kai could no longer endure and fell to the ground. He forced himself to sit up and began to circulate the true Yang secret art, recovering his physical strength and mental strength. Originally, Yang Kai thought that the incense burner had no effect on cultivating Yuan Qi, but now he found that he was wrong. Under the effect of the strange fragrance, the circulation of Yang Qi in his meridians seemed to be shackled. It was extremely slow, flowing inch by inch, making people feel helpless. The strange fragrance hindered the circulation of true Yang Yuan Qi, greatly reducing the efficiency of his current cultivation. Yang Kai was not in a hurry to take back the incense burner, but decided to feel it more. He felt that the incense burner did not only have the effect of tempering the body. This thing was incomparably wonderful, and was not something he could pry into at the moment. With the help of the incense burner, Yang Kai's body became stronger day by day, but the cultivation of the true Yang secret art was delayed by a lot, and the speed of absorbing Yang Qi was greatly reduced. After 2 to 3 days of cultivation, the true Yang Yuan Qi in his body did not increase by much. Could it be that the incense burner only hindered the cultivation of Yuan Qi? After experimenting for 2 to 3 days, Yang Kai felt a little discouraged. If this was really the case, then the incense burner's value would be greatly reduced. Without any other choice, Yang Kai could only decide to take back the incense burner when he recovered, so as to avoid it affecting the circulation of Yuan Qi in his body and increasing the recovery time for no reason. After another round of exhaustion, Yang Kai put the incense burner into the wordless black book. Circulating the true Yang secret art, Yang Kai's expression suddenly changed, and he carefully felt it. After a while, Yang Kai's mouth showed a trace of a smile. He found that the circulation of true Yang Yuan Qi in his body was slightly faster than it was 2 days ago. The faster the circulation of Yuan Qi, the faster the absorption of Yang Qi. If it was in battle, then the explosive power would be very strong. So it was like this. The existence of the incense burner, not only did it not hinder his cultivation of Yuan Qi, it actually gave him great benefits. The Yuan Qi in his body had adapted to the pressure brought by the strange fragrance, and without the strange fragrance, it would naturally circulate faster than before. It was like a person who had adapted to carrying a 3,000 gene stone, and suddenly changed the 3,000 gene stone into 300 gene stone, then he would definitely be able to walk as fast as flying. It was the same principle. Realizing this, Yang Kai smiled. Maybe in the short term, the incense burner would only hinder his cultivation of the true Yang secret art, but in the long term, this obstruction could bring him great benefits and benefits. This was a business worth investing in. Chapter 53. 10 days after the seeds of the 3 Suns fruit tree were planted, the 3 fruits had quietly ripened. They hung on the branches in bright red, making them very lovable. Yang Kai could feel a very rich Yang Qi from these 3 fruits. In just 10 days, this earth-grade low-rank spirit fruit had grown from nothing to a ripe melon. The effect of that single drop of Yang liquid was simply too great. Carefully reaching out, Yang Kai plucked the 3 fruits and played with them in his palm for a while. The more he looked at them, the more he liked them. But no matter how much he liked them, They still had to be eaten for them to be effective. Yang Kai did not hesitate and immediately sat down cross-legged and threw a 3 suns fruit into his mouth. The warm and sweet juice spread on the tip of his tongue, leaving a fragrance in his mouth. Once the spirit fruit entered his stomach, the true Yang tactics began to circulate. His abdomen felt like it was on fire, but for Yang Kai who practiced the true Yang tactics, this kind of temperature was the most comfortable and even made him feel very comfortable. The Yang Yuan Qi contained in the earth-grade mid-level spirit fruit quickly flowed into his meridians. His meridians were immediately saturated, and with a light dripping sound, a drop of Yang liquid was quietly formed. A moment later, another light dripping sound was heard. Only after 3 drops of Yang liquid had been condensed did the earth-grade low-level spirit fruit's medicinal effect completely take effect. In the Dantian, there were already 4 drops of Yang liquid. 3 of them were just formed, and the remaining one was the result of Yang Kai's 10 days of cultivation. Because of the obstruction of the incense burner, the results of these 10 days of cultivation were rather bleak, but Yang Kai did not care. His eyes were set on the future. How could he care about such a small benefit in front of him? Moreover, Yang Kai had a faint premonition that if he ate the remaining 2 fruits, he might be able to break through to the tempered body stage 9th level and touch the threshold of the initial element stage. With this thought in mind, Yang Kai did not hesitate to throw the remaining 2 3 suns fruits into his mouth. Yang Kai's qi dissolved in his abdomen, and a fierce burning force began to burn in his meridians. Yang Kai's skin suddenly turned red. The true Yang secret art madly revolved, and with a dripping sound, the Yang liquid in the Dantian increased drop by drop. The Yang qi that overflowed from the coiling dragon stream seeped into the Yang Kai's body through his pores, cooperating with him from the inside out. The vibration of the Yuan qi in his body was getting stronger and stronger. If a knowledgeable person were to see Yang Kai's current appearance, they would be so shocked that their jaws would drop to the ground. There had never been a tempered body cultivator with such a dense Yuan qi in his body. A cultivator of the body-tempering realm had narrow meridians and a low capacity of dantian. They were unable to withstand such a huge amount of Yuan qi. Just the vibration of this Yuan qi was enough to match a cultivator of the initial element stage, but Yang Kai was only at the tempered body stage 8th level. At this moment, Yang Kai also felt a pressure. This pressure was indescribable, as if it existed between the heavens and earth. It was a shackle placed on his body, and if he did not break the shackle, he would not be able to break through. The burning hot true Yang Yuan qi began to revolve, burning this invisible shackle. As time passed, Yang Kai could feel this layer of obstruction slowly becoming thinner and thinner. The breakthrough was imminent. Yang Kai's mind was clear, and the true Yang secret art revolved even faster. With a bang, it was as if he had broken free from a shackle. His entire body felt light, and all the pressure and discomfort disappeared. Yang Kai only felt refreshed. Tempered body stage 9th level. He stood outside the threshold of the initial element stage. Although he had broken through, the feeling from before had not disappeared. Yang Kai moved according to his will, and the 10 drops of Yang liquid stored in Dantian began to revolve and spread out in all directions, penetrating into Yang Kai's 5 viscera, 6 bowels, blood, and meridians. The Yang inflammation in the Yang liquid was dissolved, burning the impurities in his body, and tempering his 5 viscera, 6 bowels, and meridians. Fine steel needed to be tempered thousands of times to form, and wasn't the human body the same? Therefore, every time a cultivator broke through a great realm, they would use the energy of heaven and earth to temper their body, and in this way, their strength would increase crazily. Yang Kai had only broken through a small realm this time, so there was no extra energy of heaven and earth to use, but the Yang liquid in his body had the same effect. After a long time, Yang Kai slowly opened his eyes. He could feel that this breakthrough had brought him great progress. Just in terms of strength, it was no longer comparable to before the breakthrough. If he met Qing Shaofeng and Niu Tao now, Yang Kai was confident that he could easily kill them without using the Yang liquid. In addition to the increase in strength, Yang Kai also faintly felt a trace of a concept when he broke through, but this thing was too mysterious, so he couldn't comprehend it now. He could only wait until he broke through in the future to feel it. His meridians were filled with true Yang Yuan Qi, but the Dantian was empty. Carefully feeling it, Yang Kai's face suddenly darkened. After so many days of hard work, it was all gone in an instant. The Yang liquid formed from the three suns fruits, plus the drop of Yang liquid he had condensed before, a total of 10 drops. Now there was not a single drop left, all of it had seeped into his body when he broke through. Although the benefits to his body were enormous, the Yang liquid was gone. But it didn't matter, as long as he had money, it was very easy to obtain Yang liquid. He just had to buy some Yang attribute precious treasures and directly absorb them. The only problem now was that Yang Kai was very poor. Apart from the loot he obtained from killing Qing Xiaofeng and Nu Tao, he didn't have anything else of value. Sitting in place and thinking, Yang Kai suddenly had an idea. He couldn't afford those precious treasures, but could he not buy seeds? The success of the Three Suns fruit tree was in front of him. With the extraordinary Yang liquid, as long as he had the right seeds, he could easily obtain spirit fruits. But seeds were really rare. That day in Black Wind Trade, Kai Yang had wandered around for a long time, but he hadn't seen anyone selling seeds. This wasn't difficult to understand. To plant spirit grass and spirit tree seeds, not only did one need to find a suitable environment, one also needed to take care of them carefully, and it would take many years for them to bear fruit. Who would want to do that? If one had the time and energy, it would be better to cultivate. If no one wanted to buy, then no one would sell. If there was a demand, then there would be a market. Yang Kai said that he wanted to buy, and he wanted to buy a lot. Making up his mind, Yang Kai walked out of High Heaven Pavilion, all the way to Black Wind Trade. Although it was his second time here, Yang Kai seemed to be very familiar with the place. After more than half a month, the Black Wind Trade Market was still bustling with activity as usual. Cultivators came and went like carps crossing the river, innumerable. The stalls were filled with a dazzling array of rare treasures, making it too much for the eyes to take in. Walking around the lively stalls, he didn't find anyone selling seeds. Mentally prepared, Yang Kai wasn't disappointed. Following his memory, he went to the blood group's stall. He wanted to see if that guy had any extra seeds. Chapter 54. After walking for a while, a surprised shout came from the side, "Brother Yang!" Yang Kai looked over and saw Li Yuntian waving at him with a face full of enthusiasm. There was also a stall in front of him. There were all kinds of things, some herbs and a few bottles. It looked like they were filled with pills. "Why are you setting up a stall here?" Yang Kai walked over and asked. He remembered that last time, Sassafras had given them a death order to cultivate. "I just broke through. Young Master Su told me to come out and relax and stabilize my realm. It just so happens that the brothers need some things to help with their cultivation, so I came here to try my luck." Li Yuntian explained. "So that's how it is." Carefully sizing up Li Yuntian, Kai Yang discovered that compared to a few days ago, he was much stronger. He should have broken through to the tempered body 8th stage. "Brother, what are you doing here?" Li Yuntian asked curiously. "I'm here to buy something." "What do you want?" "See if I have anything here. If you need it, just take it." Li Yuntian pointed at the things on the stall and said generously. "Do you have the seeds of Yang attribute spirit herbs?" Li Yuntian shook his head. "I don't have such things. As far as I know, there are very few people who sell seeds in this market. Generally speaking, seeds are not expensive, but they are still rare. I'm also here to try my luck." Yang Kai laughed. "How about this? I'll help brother put up a sign and see if I can get it. Since I'll be here for the next 2 days, if you're lucky, maybe someone will sell it." Li Yuntian suggested. "All right, then I'll have to trouble junior brother Li." Li Yuntian picked up a sign and wrote a line of words, then put it on the side. After chatting with Li Yuntian for a while, he knew that Sassafras and the others had suffered a big blow last time. With Su Yan's harsh words, this dandy young master finally restrained himself. These days, he cultivated day and night and had already broken through to the initial element realm. After bidding farewell to Li Yuntian, Yang Kai went all the way to the stall where he had bought the Yang Inflammation Stone. After seeing the familiar stall owner, Yang Kai couldn't help but sigh in relief. He was really afraid that he wouldn't be able to find him. "Hey, little brother, you're here again?" This disciple of the blood group had seen Yang Kai and Hu Mei Er together before, so he naturally had a deep impression of them. At this moment, he even used honorifics. "What do you want to buy this time?" the stall owner asked. "Do you still have the 3 suns fruit seed that you gave me last time?" Yang Kai did not beat around the bush and went straight to the point. The stall owner shook his head and said, "No, that's all I have. I've already given it to you as a bonus." "I see." Yang Kai couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. "Then I'm sorry to disturb you." Finished speaking, Yang Kai walked to the side. He wanted to carefully look around the Black Wind trade market. With so many people selling things, if his luck was good, he should be able to find it. The blood group disciple looked at Yang Kai's back. He struggled for a moment, then suddenly shouted, "Little brother, please wait." Yang Kai turned his head and asked, "What's wrong?" In fact, the 3 suns fruit tree seed was not the only one. At that time, there were several seeds, but I only managed to get 1 seed. Listening to him, Yang Kai's expression was overjoyed. "What about the other seeds?" "They were taken by several other people. If little brother really wants them, you can go find them." "Where are they now?" Yang Kai hurriedly asked. The stall owner looked hesitant. After a long while, he said, "They are in our group's mining area. They are mining the Yang inflammation stone and other minerals. But that area, even our group's disciples can't easily enter, let alone little brother who is an outsider." "When will they come out?" Yang Kai didn't want to give up. "I'm afraid they won't come out in a short time. If little brother wants to find them, you may have to wait 1 to 2 months. Yang Kai's eyebrows wrinkled. After such a long time, it would be too late to wait. "Do you have any way for me to go in and find them?" "Rest assured, I just want to buy the 3 suns fruit tree seed from them. I don't have a way. I'm just an ordinary member of the group." The stall owner shook his head with a wry smile. Then he rolled his eyes and said, "But someone has a way." Yang Kai was shocked. "I'd like to hear the details." The stall owner looked at him with a smile. His expression was somewhat ambiguous. "You can ask the little miss for help. With her leading you, the people in the mining area won't stop you." After listening to this, Yang Kai's face became strange. He said, "My relationship with your little miss is ordinary." The stall owner nodded again and again. It was obvious that he didn't believe Yang Kai's words. He pointed to a wooden house not far away and said, "Today is a coincidence. The little miss just happened to come to the trade market and is resting in that house. If you are in a hurry to get the seed, you might as well ask the little miss." Yang Kai was somewhat hesitant. Speaking of which, the matter between him and Hu Mei Er wasn't very pleasant. He had thoroughly offended this woman, and now he had to ask her for help. How could Yang Kai put down his face? But if he didn't ask her, then there was no other good way. Unwilling to give up, Yang Kai carefully searched the Black Wind trade market. Although he found some seeds, they weren't Yang attribute and were of no value to him. In desperation, Yang Kai clenched his teeth. Forget it, if he lost face, then he lost face. In any case, he didn't do anything wrong to her. Why should he be afraid of her? The wooden houses here were basically guarded by the experts of the 3 sections. Hu Mei Er was the daughter of the blood group's leader. Although her strength wasn't high, her status wasn't low. It was normal for her to rest in there. There was no one within 300 feet of the wooden houses. All the cultivators were very respectful to the experts in the wooden houses. Naturally, they wouldn't set up their stalls near the wooden houses. Arriving at the wooden house indicated by the stall owner, Yang Kai stood in front of the door. He didn't know how to open his mouth, but suddenly a delicate voice came from inside the house. "Who's outside?" It sounded like Hu Mei Er's voice, but it was also strange. Since he had already come here, Yang Kai naturally wouldn't back out. He immediately said, "Miss Hu Mei Er, I am Yang Kai. I hope you can come out and meet me." Contrary to Yang Kai's expectations, there were 2 women sitting in the room at the moment. The 2 of them looked almost the same, even their demeanor and figure were the same. At first glance, one would think that there was a mirror here, and one of them was the reflection of the other. Hearing Yang Kai's voice, one of the women's beautiful eyes flashed with astonishment. Turning her head to look at the other woman, she said, "Little sister, is this the Yang Kai you were talking about?" The woman being asked was Hu Mei Er. Hearing the question, she nodded. Why is he looking for me?" She thought that after that day, the two of them would never cross paths again. The other woman sneered, "It seems that he isn't the kind of man you were talking about who doesn't care about beauty. Some men, will pretend to be noble and virtuous. They will specifically lure a little girl like you into the trap. Then, they will seize the opportunity to capture your heart and soul, consigning you to eternal damnation." Hu Mei Er's face reddened. She angrily said, "Elder sister, he isn't what you think." Hu Jiao Er giggled, "If he isn't, why would he come looking for you after so many days? He must know that you can't forget about him. This time, he came to make his move." Hu Mei Er angrily said, "Elder sister, you always think the worst of people. If he really was that kind of person, then that day by the lake, Hu Mei Er believed that her chastity would have been at stake. No man could resist that kind of temptation." Chapter 55. But why did he come to look for her? Although Hu Mei Er didn't believe her sister's words, she still had some doubts in her heart. Seeing her expression, Hu Jiao Er faintly sighed. "If you persist in going about things the wrong way, you will suffer a big loss sooner or later." Hu Mei Er angrily said, "I won't talk to you anymore. He must have something important to tell me, I'm going to ask." Just as she was about to get up, she was held down by her sister. Hu Jiao Er's charming eyes turned and she giggled, "Little sister, how about I make a bet with you?" "What bet?" Hu Mei Er's expression was puzzled. "Let's bet on whether or not he's a hypocrite. If he's really like you say, then he'll definitely be able to sit still. If he's not, then don't blame sister for being ruthless." Hu Jiao Er said, her eyes flashing with a cold light. All these years, Hu Mei Er stirred up trouble outside, but the reason why she was able to maintain her purity was mostly due to this sister of hers. Those who had bad intentions and wanted to use force on Hu Mei Er always died without knowing why. Towards her sister's methods, Hu Mei Er was very clear. Just by looking at her expression, she knew that she was definitely up to no good. "Sister, what do you want to do?" Hu Mei Er exclaimed. "Just watch carefully, humph." Hu Jiao Er waved her hand and a dense light suddenly enveloped her sister's body. Soon after, Hu Mei Er's body gradually dimmed and finally disappeared. "Sister, don't mess around." Hu Mei Er used all her strength to beat the air, but not a single sound came out. She couldn't even walk out of the 1-foot radius around her feet. She could only look at everything in the room and couldn't help but become anxious. Outside the door, Yang Kai waited for a long time but didn't see Hu Mei Er open the door. He helplessly sighed. It seems that he really offended her that day, so it was natural for her to be angry. If it were any other woman after being said those words, they probably wouldn't be able to remain calm. Forget it, Yang Kai originally didn't have any expectations. He only came here to try. Now that he saw that she wasn't willing to pay attention to him, he naturally couldn't force it. Just as he was about to turn and leave, Hu Mei Er's voice came from inside the room. "Come in." Yang Kai was stunned. After a moment of hesitation, he pushed the door open and walked in. After entering the house and closing the door, all the noise outside suddenly disappeared without a trace, leaving only a peaceful silence. Yang Kai looked around and found that the size of this wooden house was about the same as Su Yan's, but the furnishings inside were much better. Su Yan's house had nothing, it was just a simple wooden house, just as cold as her. But here, there was a table, 2 chairs, and even a fragrant bed. The fragrant bed was hung with a pink curtain that was as thin as a cicada's wings. There was also a small pillow on the bed, and the room was filled with the delicate fragrance of a girl. This place and Su Yan's world were 2 completely different worlds. Hu Jiao Er sat at the table with a charming smile, facing the direction Yang Kai came in. Her charming eyes were tender and beautiful, staring at him with a strange expression. The corner of her mouth held a trace of an unknown smile, and her cheeks were blushing. It was very charming. Her 2 jade-like arms were exposed, and her pink skin was as white and translucent as a baby's. She wore a pair of wooden clogs, and her small and exquisite toes were exposed. It was unknown what was applied on her toenails, but they were purplish-red in color, and it revealed a wild charm. Yang Kai looked at her and his heart jumped. He didn't know why, but Hu Mei Er seemed particularly charming today. Compared to the last time he saw her, she was much more charming. But her smile made Yang Kai feel awkward, thinking that the other party was ridiculing him. At this moment, Hu Mei Er's small and slender hand was holding a flat and round cloth fan, fanning herself in a graceful manner. Strands of her beautiful hair fluttered in the wind, adding a sense of indolence and nobility. The cloth fan's face was embroidered with a picture of a court lady. This court lady's figure was enchanting and full, posing in a seductive manner. If the clothes were less embroidered, it would be a set. Yang Kai glanced at it, thinking that this woman was really bold. If other women looked at it, they would be ashamed to death, but she dared to fan herself. She really wasn't an ordinary person. But, after not seeing her for half a month, how did Hu Mei Er change so much? Although she kept staring at him, Yang Kai didn't feel the slightest bit of fear. While walking towards her, his eyes met hers without the slightest thought of retreating. That day, he saw Hu Mei Er's embarrassing state with his own eyes. It was equivalent to holding her little braids. Now that he was facing her again, how could Yang Kai be timid? Being stared at like this, Hu Jiao Er, who was pretending to be Hu Mei Er, felt a little overwhelmed. She thought that this person was really daring. Who would look at a beauty like this? He didn't know how to avoid her, he really didn't understand the situation. But his eyes were clear, without the slightest trace of obscenity. Arriving at the table, Yang Kai cupped his fist and said, "Miss Mei Er, after not seeing you for 10 days, you have become more and more charming." Hearing this, Hu Jiao Er giggled and said, "You also know how to flatter people?" With regards to Yang Kai, Hu Mei Er had told her everything, so Hu Jiao Er knew how to respond and wasn't worried that she would give herself away. Yang Kai smiled, "I'm just speaking the truth." As he said this, he sat across from her. His heart was relieved. It seemed that this woman wasn't angry with him. This made things much easier. "Miss Mei Er, this time I came." Yang Kai planned to directly state his purpose. This way, he would appear more sincere. "Let's not talk about this first." Hu Jiao Er put down her cloth fan. She stood up and picked up the teapot on the table. Walking to Yang Kai's side, she poured him a cup and said, "It's hot outside. Drink some tea to moisten your throat. It won't be too late to talk after a while." "That's fine too." Yang Kai nodded. Enjoying the other's warmth, he picked up the teacup and took a sip. Suddenly, his expression became a little strange. Hu Jiao Er returned to her seat and sat down. Holding her cheeks with both hands, she calmly looked at him and said, "Junior brother Yang, what do you think of this tea?" Yang Kai's mind was thinking about other things. He raised his eyes and looked at Hu Jiao Er meaningfully, then said, "The leaves of this tea are flat like a palm, slender and straight. The color is like a drop of jade, and the bottom of the leaves is dense with flowers. It is a top-quality product." Hu Jiao Er was stunned. Full of surprise, she looked at Yang Kai and asked, "You know?" Even she didn't know, she just drank it. She didn't think that Yang Kai would be able to explain it so clearly. How could she not be surprised? Yang Kai shook his head, "I know a little, not proficient." "Then what do you think of this tea compared to mine?" Hu Jiao Er looked at Yang Kai, her breath like orchids. Even though they were separated by a table, Yang Kai could feel the other's breath. It was as sweet as a mountain stream, as clear as 100-year-old wine, leaving a rich aftertaste. Without any reason, Yang Kai suddenly felt his breath quicken. His blood slowly surged and he almost blurted out, "The tea is better for a good person." Hee. Hu Jiao Er giggled, her chest trembling. Yang Kai's eyes stared at those huge full breasts. His Adam's apple couldn't help but move. Hu Jiao Er intentionally or unintentionally picked up the cloth fan, blocking the spring scenery in front of her chest. However, she deliberately turned the picture of the scantily clad lady towards him. Yang Kai's face suddenly turned red. Chapter 56. Seeing this scene, the imprisoned Humei heir immediately shouted, "Elder sister, you're shameless." But how could her cries be heard? She was so anxious that her fragrant sweat was dripping, but there was nothing she could do. This was too despicable. With her elder sister's strength, it was easy for her to toy with a tempered body cultivator. If it was a normal conversation, Humei heir felt that Yang Kai would definitely not reveal any embarrassment. But if her elder sister secretly used some tricks, then it was hard to say. Inside the room, Hu Jiao heir suddenly stood up and walked step by step towards the fragrant bed. Looking back, she smiled and said, "Wait a moment, I'll get something for you." Yang Kai frowned. He faintly felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what was wrong. Walking to the side of the fragrant bed, Hu Jiao heir bent down and half knelt on the bed to search. Her thin clothes couldn't hide her 10,000 kinds of flirtatious feelings. The clothes that clung to her body wrapped around her perfectly round and perky buttocks, displaying an incomparable temptation. Yang Kai's heartbeat sped up a lot, and his throat burned. For a long time, Hu Jiao heir still maintained this seductive posture. Suddenly, a delicate cry came from her mouth. "What's wrong?" Yang Kai's expression changed, and he hurriedly rushed forward. At this time, Hu Jiao heir retreated from the bed. Her footsteps staggered, and she directly fell into Yang Kai's arms, hugging him tightly. The two people's feet bumped into each other, and for some reason, they both fell on the bed. Hu Jiao heir was on top, and Yang Kai was on the bottom. Her hot and delicate body was in his arms. Yang Kai's throat became more and more dry. Looking at the beautiful face and tender lips in front of him, Yang Kai suppressed the desire in his heart and opened his mouth to ask, "What's wrong?" "There's a bug." Hu Jiao heir's acting was quite good. Her two small hands grabbed onto Yang Kai's clothes and didn't let go, looking like a bird startled by the twang of a bow. Yang Kai laughed involuntarily. "Where?" "There." Following the direction Hu Jiao heir pointed, Yang Kai saw a worm slowly crawling there. He thought to himself, "This woman is really interesting. She's already a cultivator, yet a mere worm can scare her like this." He reached out his hand and pinched it to death. Then he patted Hu Jiao heir's shoulder and said, "It's okay, I've already killed it." "There must be more." Hu Jiao heir continued to speak as she turned her head to look around. Strands of her hair swept across Yang Kai's cheeks and mouth. Yang Kai's mood, which had just calmed down, was once again aroused. "No more." Yang Kai felt that this wasn't a good idea. If someone were to barge in and see him and Humei heir in this state, then they wouldn't be able to clear their name. Is there really nothing else? Hu Jiao heir's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. She didn't think that Yang Kai would actually be able to sit still and not take advantage of her. Just now, if Yang Kai really did make a move, then the result would definitely be a broken arm or a broken leg. Although her heart was unhappy, Hu Jiao heir didn't insist. Instead, she meekly climbed up from Yang Kai's body. Yang Kai also sat up. He somewhat embarrassedly raised his head to look at Humei heir. He discovered that the other party's face was also red as she limped to sit beside him. "What's wrong with your foot?" Yang Kai asked. "When I fell just now, I think I sprained it." Hu Jiao heir's first plan didn't work, so she came up with another one. She thought to herself, "I'll make a sacrifice today and dig out your heart to see if it's black or red." "Let me see." Yang Kai squatted down and picked up Hu Jiao heir's foot to examine it. He discovered that her ankle was indeed a bit red and swollen. It was clearly a sprain, but it wasn't a real injury. In order to test Yang Kai, Hu Jiao heir sacrificed a lot this time. Yang Kai didn't avoid anything. After all, Humei heir wasn't someone who cared too much about etiquette. Before, she had seduced him, so what if he took her foot now? "Don't move," Yang Kai warned. Then he reached into his bosom and took out a bottle of pills. This was a bottle of Sky Tower's blood coagulation cream. After taking it out, Yang Kai's movements paused, as if he was thinking about something. After a while, he opened the bottle and poured out some of the cream. Spreading it out in his palm, he carefully applied it to the red and swollen area of Hu Jiao heir's foot. The weak true yang yuan qi was also circulating, helping to dissolve the effects of the medicine. Hu Jiao Air couldn't help but tremble. She secretly thought that this time, she really suffered a big loss. For so many years, her pure and clean body had never been touched by anyone. Today, in order to make a bet with her little sister, she had been hugged and touched by someone. Unfortunately, she couldn't get angry, and she couldn't let the other party take responsibility. Although she felt wronged in her heart, her body had a different feeling. That big hand gently rubbed her ankle. His expression was serious, and his movements were gentle. His rough hand rubbed against her tender skin, bringing a burst of numbness. When he was serious, he seemed to have a kind of calmness that didn't match his age. Following Yang Kai's movements, Hu Jiao Air's wild thoughts were gradually interrupted. Her body constantly surged with a strange feeling. This feeling made her flustered. Her maiden heart suddenly began to beat wildly. Her lower abdomen also had a hot current, like lightning, jumping up and down. She couldn't help but clamp her legs together. She was afraid that if she didn't clamp her legs together, that hot current would rush out. Yang Kai. A strange voice came out from Hu Jiao Air's mouth. At this moment, she was so embarrassed that she couldn't show her face. She never thought that she would one day make such a sound. Yang Kai raised his head and saw Hu Jiao Air's pair of watery eyes staring at him. There was no other color on her face, only a red flush. Do you want to do something else? Hu Jiao Air bit her ruby red lips and made a final counterattack. If Yang Kai agreed, she could abandon all of her current feelings and completely withdraw. Moreover, she wouldn't let Yang Kai have an easy time. Would he agree? Hu Jiao Air was nervous. She hoped that he would agree and release her, but she also hoped that he would refuse. This proved that her little sister didn't make a mistake, and she also didn't make a mistake. This kind of tension and struggle made her heart very hesitant. Hu Jiao Air was worried, but how could the imprisoned Hu Mei Air not be worried? At this moment, she also stopped her useless shouts and stared closely at Yang Kai. She didn't know what kind of answer he would give. Kai Yang stared straight at Hu Jiao Air, seemingly interested in her. Hu Jiao Air's heart leapt to her throat, afraid that Kai Yang would say yes. Suddenly, Kai Yang smiled faintly and slowly put away the blood-clotting cream. Solemnly, he put it into his pocket. Miss. Yang Kai muttered. Hu Jiao Air was so nervous that she didn't notice the change in the way Yang Kai addressed her. The blood coagulation cream that I just gave you is one of my most precious things. Although its value is not high, it is a testimony to the warmth I have felt in these past few years. What do you mean? Hu Jiao Air was stunned. She asked him whether he wanted it or not. Why did he say this to her? What was the deeper meaning? Yang Kai straightened up and looked down at Hu Jiao Air. I wanted to tell you that I used this precious ointment to heal your wounds. I hope you won't mind my previous offense. This farce ends here. Chapter 57. What are you talking about? Hu Jiao Air's expression changed as she forced a smile. I don't understand. Could it be that he found out that she wasn't her sister? Impossible, he was clearly only at the 9th level of the tempered body stage. How could he see through her, a dignified Yuan Qi cultivator's trick? What's more, she and her sister looked the same, no matter if it was their voice or form, there was no difference. The elders in the sect often mistook their identities, so how could he have this ability? Yang Kai looked at her indifferently and chuckled. Miss, are you saying that you don't want to admit it? Admit what? I really don't know what you're talking about. Hu Jiao Air made a final effort. Yang Kai rubbed his forehead and said helplessly, then I'll make it clear. Miss, you're not Hu Mei Air, I think, you should be her twin sister. Hu Jiao Air was stunned and immediately laughed. Why do you say that? This time, she didn't try to deny it. Instead, she looked at Kai Yang with great interest. She also wanted to know where she had exposed herself. If Kai Yang couldn't tell her the truth, then it was clear that he was just using words to trick her. Maybe he was just suspicious and didn't dare to be sure, so he wanted her to admit it. Hu Jiao Air guessed in her heart. Miss, you're testing my eyesight. Yang Kai wasn't angry and chuckled. He turned and walked to the table and picked up the teacup he was drinking from. He took a sip and said, Actually, I wasn't sure if you were Hu Mei Air, but now I can be sure you're not her. Hu Jiao Air was stunned, but she gnashed her teeth in hatred. So what he said just now was really just a test. I'm so angry. I'm an Yuan Qi cultivator, but I was careless and fell for a tempered body stage brat's trick. This is really capsizing and losing face. There was no point in continuing to deny it, so Hu Jiao Air giggled and sat sideways on the bed, her enchanting figure faintly discernible. Looking at Yang Kai with her beautiful eyes, she asked in a soft voice, "When did you start suspecting me?" "When we drink tea." Yang Kai knocked on the teacup in his hand. Although the tea is pleasant, it can't cover up the woman's fragrance on the cup. And there's a faint lipstick mark on the rim of the cup. I think this teacup was used not long ago, right? And that person is Miss Hu Mei Air. Just based on this, you think I'm not Mei Air? Hu Jiao Air was stunned. Of course not. Yang Kai shook his head slowly. The second thing that made me suspicious was your temperament. I don't think it's possible for a woman's temperament to change so drastically in just a few days. To give you a compliment, Miss Mei Er's charm is slightly immature, but your charm is completely natural. I like those words. Hu Jiao Air covered her mouth and giggled. Continue, is there anything else? Thirdly, your body fragrance is extremely similar to Miss Mei Er's. However, if you carefully taste it, there are some differences. Her fragrance is sweet, while yours is slightly more elegant. Stinking brat. Hu Jiao Air's face turned pink. Yang Kai's explicit words made it difficult for her to control herself. Thinking of the sacrifice she made to test him, Hu Jiao Air couldn't help but want to slap this man in front of her into a meat patty. Fourthly, Yang Kai ignored Hu Jiao Air's murderous gaze and continued. There's more. Hu Jiao Air was shocked. She didn't think that this stinking brat, who was only a tempered body cultivator, would be able to see through so many flaws. Originally, she thought that her plan was flawless. Fourthly, the injury on your foot. That injury looks like a sprain, but in fact, it's caused by the internal shock from your own cultivation. This is the biggest mistake. Although Miss Mei Air is a young girl, she is still a cultivator. How could it be so easy for her to sprain her own foot? That was my oversight. Hu Jiao Air nodded lightly. At that time, she was only thinking about how to trick Yang Kai, but didn't think so far ahead. Raising her head, she saw that Yang Kai was still deep in thought. Hu Jiao Air couldn't help but say, "Don't tell me that you still saw through my plan." Hu Jiao Air was not convinced. How could a plan that she thought was perfect be full of flaws when it came to him? His analysis was clear and logical, making it impossible for others to refute. This stinking brat is really annoying. If he dares to say that there are any flaws, this great aunt will definitely teach him a lesson. He doesn't know how to look at other people's faces. Then don't say it. Yang Kai frowned. Hearing him say this, Hu Jiao Air was not happy. Her beautiful eyes were cold, and she smiled sweetly. Clenching her teeth, she said, "Say it." "I won't say it." Yang Kai shook his head. Hu Jiao Air said angrily, "I told you to say it, so just say it. How can you keep people in suspense like this?" Yang Kai smiled bitterly. "I'm afraid that if I say it, it will make you angry." Hu Jiao Air's phoenix eyes narrowed. "Make me angry? Then it must be something bad?" "Then all the more I want to hear it. But you have to promise that you won't be angry. If you don't say it, how will I know if I won't be angry? Then forget about it. Don't you know that when you have a dispute with a woman, you should take a step back?" Hu Jiao Air was full of hatred. This brat looked smart, but in fact he was a hothead. "If I take a step back, I will be hurt." "I can't beat you," Yang Kai said seriously. "At least you are a little tactful." Hu Jiao Air smiled proudly. Her body rolled up like a gust of wind. She walked from the bed to the table and sat down. Looking at Yang Kai, she pondered for a moment and said, "Okay, I promise I won't be angry with you. And promise you won't hit me." "Okay." Hu Jiao Air gritted her teeth and said, "Tell me, what is the last flaw?" Yang Kai said seriously, "Actually, it's not a flaw. It's just that you and Mei Air look different." What's the difference? Hu Jiao Air asked curiously. She and her little sister were carved from the same mold. How could there be any difference? Yang Kai smacked his lips and hesitated for a long time. Then he said, but one side is big and the other is small. It's not as well proportioned as Mei Air's. When this sentence came out, Hu Jiao Air's face turned red. Her yuan qi fiercely erupted, and the room was suddenly filled with a whistling wind. Remember the promise you just made. Yang Kai's expression didn't change and his heart didn't skip a beat, lightly reminding him. Hu Jiao Air's astonishing aura suddenly shrank. She was so angry that her whole body trembled, but she couldn't do anything. She clenched her teeth so hard that they almost broke. After a long time, she angrily slammed the table and shouted, "Bullshit!" For a girl to burst out with such vulgar words, one could imagine how angry Hu Jiao Air was. This stinking brat should be hacked into pieces. He actually said that one side of her butt was big and the other side was small. Was this something a man should say? How was one side big and one side small? It was clearly very well proportioned, okay? Stinking brat, I'm afraid you don't know how to write the word death. Chapter 58. Knowing that Hu Jiao Air was angry, Yang Kai quickly comforted her. Miss, you don't have to worry about it. In fact, if you didn't look carefully, you wouldn't be able to see it. Hu Jiao Air's face turned cold as she looked at Yang Kai with a murderous look. In other words, you just looked carefully? Yang Kai couldn't help but cough a few times and said with some embarrassment, Yes, I looked a few more times. You can't blame me. You were the one who stuck out your butt towards me. Do you think I didn't see it? Yang Kai felt wronged in his heart. With these doubts, if I still couldn't see that Miss and Hu Mei Air were two different people, then I would have wasted my pair of eyes. Yang Kai smiled faintly. After Hu Jiao Air's anger, she carefully thought about it and couldn't help but be shocked. She found that this man named Yang Kai had unparalleled insight. From entering the room to exposing her, it only took half a cup of tea's time for him to see so many suspicious points. This kind of ability wasn't something that everyone had. Moreover, she had personally tried to seduce him, but he didn't succeed. This person's willpower and character were also quite good. He wouldn't be moved by beauty, he was a man with a strong heart. Although he was young and his strength was weak, it couldn't be denied that he was a person. Thinking of this, Hu Jiao Air rolled her eyes and winked at Yang Kai. Yang Kai, right? In view of the fact that you just offended me, now this miss will give you two choices. What choices? Yang Kai asked. The first choice, whichever hand that touched me, that hand will be cut off. Whichever eye that looked at me, that eye will be gouged out. If so, I will forgive you for your previous offense. Hu Jiao Air said these words with a smile on her face. Her tone was gentle as if she was a wife whispering to her husband, but there was an inhumane cruelty and bloodthirstiness in her words. Yang Kai shook his head. I'll listen to the second choice. Hu Jiao Air smiled. The second option is to leave High Heaven Pavilion and join my blood group. I will report to my father and let him give you the position of squad leader. As far as I know, in High Heaven Pavilion, you're just a trial disciple of the lowest level, bullied and humiliated, and you don't have any good cultivation resources. But if you come to blood group, you'll be treated 100 times better than in High Heaven Pavilion. How about it? Aren't my conditions generous? Is there any other choice? No more. Then I won't choose any of them. Yang Kai secretly circulated his true Yang secret art as he vigilantly looked at Hu Jiao Air. You want to force me to make a move? Hu Jiao Air sneered. I don't think the young lady will really fight. This is not the blood group. Once the slightest trace of a battle is spread out, the High Heaven Pavilion's disciples will also come to investigate. At that time the young lady will also be in trouble. A trivial trial disciple, if I kill him, then I kill him. What can High Heaven Pavilion do to me? At most, I'll just go with some things. I'm sure they won't care if you live or die. If the young lady really wanted to kill me, then you wouldn't have talked so much nonsense with me. Yang Kai looked calm and composed, but in fact he was nervous. After all, a woman's heart was like a needle in the ocean. Who knows what she was thinking in the end? He now regretted speaking the truth. A woman's words really couldn't be trusted, especially a beautiful woman. His experience was still too little. Moreover, I have already said that I will use my most precious blood coagulation cream to heal your wounds, so please don't mind me offending you again. Kai Yang tried to persuade her with reason and with emotion. A bottle of blood coagulation cream is enough to compensate for my loss? Hu Jiao was angry. She wanted to say that he had already hugged her, touched her, but when the words reached her mouth, she couldn't say it. Her loss was too big. How could a bottle of medicine make up for it? If you want to say it like that, then I can't do anything. In fact, you know what happened just now, you were the one who took the initiative. These words were like adding oil to the fire. Hu Jiao was ashamed and angry. Just as she was about to hit him, she turned her head and looked at the place where Hu Mei was imprisoned. Seeing Hu Mei anxiously shouting from inside, she couldn't help but soften. Her anger gradually dissipated. Taking a deep breath, she said, "Forget it, this time I won't argue with you." Yang Kai couldn't help but let out a long breath. "Young lady, please forgive me." Hu Jiao chuckled. "Actually, what you just said was correct, but you were wrong about one thing." "What is it?" Yang Kai asked. Hu Jiao didn't immediately answer. Instead, she waved her hand and the imprisoned Hu Mei gradually appeared. Yang Kai was shocked. Although he knew that this woman's strength was very high, he didn't expect it to be to this extent. With a wave of her hand, a person quietly appeared. This was clearly something that an expert of Yuan-Chi realm or higher could do. Hu Mei was freed. Her beautiful eyes glanced at Yang Kai and her face relaxed. Just now, she was really nervous to death. She was afraid that her sister would kill Yang Kai in a fit of anger. Looking at her sister again, Hu Mei couldn't help but laugh. She remembered the words that Yang Kai just said. Heavens, there was actually a man in this world who dared to say such things to her sister. Moreover, after saying it, he was actually unharmed. Sister. As soon as Hu Mei came out, she threw herself at Hu Jiao's side and acted like a spoiled child. "Don't be angry, this time you can't blame him." "I didn't say that I blame him." Hu Jiao was still angry. She turned her head and looked at Yang Kai. "I said that you were wrong about one thing, and that is that Hu Mei and I are not twins." "Not twins?" Yang Kai was surprised. Looking carefully, the two women in front of him were exactly the same. There was no difference. If Yang Kai were to identify them the next time they met, he definitely wouldn't be able to tell who was who. "No, I am a few years older than Hu Mei." Hu Jiao smiled slightly. Seeing Yang Kai's surprised expression, she couldn't help but feel a little better. Sure enough, this is a boundless world. Nothing is too strange. Yang Kai sighed. Although they were sisters, they were born a few years apart and yet they could grow up to such an extent. In this world, they were probably the only ones. "You don't know me?" Hu Jiao was slightly puzzled. She was one of the younger generation of the blood group. Her reputation was illustrious. How could this person not know her? "I don't know." Yang Kai shook his head. He seemed to be very ignorant and inexperienced. Seeing that he didn't seem to be lying, Hu Jiao could only believe him. Naturally, she didn't know what Yang Kai had been through these past few years. He was practically isolated from the world and never communicated with others. "Why are you looking for me today?" Hu Mei turned her head and looked at Yang Kai. Yang Kai told her the purpose of this trip. Hu Mei looked at her sister and asked for her opinion. The latter waved her hand and said, "Go, but don't cause trouble in the mine." "Thank you." Yang Kai couldn't help but sigh in relief. "Let's go, I will take you there. The mine is not very far from here." Hu Mei seemed to be in a good mood. Her face was radiant as she led the way. After Yang Kai and Hu Mei left, Hu Jiao slowly got up. Her two jade hands stroked her round buttocks. After a while, she muttered to herself, "How is one side bigger and one side smaller? They are clearly the same. This stinking brat is spouting nonsense. He's too despicable." Chapter 59. Leaving the bustling Black Wind trade, under Hu Mei's lead, the two of them headed north of Black Wind Forest. Hu Mei Er seemed to be somewhat happy, her pair of charming eyes filled with joy, her cheeks flushed red. About that day, I'm sorry. Yang Kai suddenly apologized. The words he said that day were indeed a bit too much, and now he came to ask for help. It was a bit of a double-edged sword. Hu Mei Er pursed her lips and smiled. It's okay, you didn't scold me. These past few years, I've heard worse words, but didn't I still survive? You don't hate me? Yang Kai was surprised. Why would I hate you? Hu Mei Er smiled and suddenly said, actually, I did hate you, but one of your actions made me unable to hate you. What actions? Haha, that day when Qing Xiaofeng and Nu Tao suddenly appeared, you stood in front of me. Maybe it was an unconscious action, but it was the first time in these past few years that someone sincerely wanted to protect me. I don't remember. But it wasn't easy for you. Yang Kai sighed. A good girl actually willingly destroyed her own reputation just to help the blood group find more men. Although her intentions were not good, it was still a filial piety. Huh. Hu Mei Er laughed. It wasn't easy, don't you know that acting is a woman's instinct? Ha, I haven't had much contact with women. Really? Hu Mei Er's eyes lit up. So these past few days I've been taken advantage of by you two sisters. Yang Kai said in a deadpan manner. Hu Mei Er glanced at him angrily. You're so mean. Luckily my sister wasn't here. If she was, I'll definitely beat you up. Your sister? Yuan Qi Realm First Level. Hu Mei Er replied with some pride. Amazing. Yang Kai praised. Su Yen was Yuan Qi Realm Third Level. Hu Mei Er's sister was a bit weaker than Su Yen, but not by much. When Hu Mei Er mentioned her older sister, she remembered what Yang Kai had said. For a moment, she was convulsing with laughter, unable to close her mouth. Yang Kai was speechless. He could only stand there and wait for her to catch her breath. After laughing for a long while, Hu Mei Er gradually regained her breath. With a smile on her face, she said, I've discovered that you're quite daring. There has never been a man who dared to say that to Big Sister. That part of her. Is it true that one side is bigger than the other? Maybe it's because of the clothes she's wearing. Tell her not to worry about it later. Yang Kai chuckled. What about mine? Are they really well proportioned? Hu Mei Er's face was bashful as she boldly asked. Not only is it well proportioned, but it's also round and perky. Yang Kai nodded. You have a good figure, so you don't have to undervalue yourself. Hu Mei Er immediately felt a little overwhelmed. This kind of straightforward praise without any ulterior motives was probably the best thing she had heard in all these years. For a moment he was secretly delighted. How long before we arrive? Yang Kai didn't want to delve into this topic, so he opened his mouth and asked. We still have to walk for an hour. Although that place can be considered as Black Wind Forest, it is already the center of Black Wind Forest. Hu Mei Er explained, there is an underground mineral vein that was discovered by our blood group a few years ago. Since then we have stationed people there to mine it. The things produced there are very strange. How strange? Yang Kai asked. There are only two types of stones there. One is the Yang Inflammation Stone that you bought, and the other is the Yin Yuan Stone. Don't you think it's strange? These two types of stones are opposite to each other, but they can be produced together in that mineral vein. I don't know what is going on. This is really strange. Yang Kai was slightly moved. The Yang Inflammation Stone contains Yang energy, while the Yin Yuan Stone contains Yin energy. They are opposite attributes. Under normal circumstances, it is absolutely impossible for them to be produced together. The experts of the gang also feel that there is something wrong with the mine, but after investigating and mining for several years, they didn't find anything special. However, because of this mine, our gang has earned a lot of money. Hu Mei Er didn't seem to treat Yang Kai as an outsider, so she said what she thought. This is your blood group's good fortune. Yang Kai smiled slightly. Hu Mei Er hummed and suddenly became silent. After walking for a while, she opened her mouth and said, Actually, today can be considered a coincidence. If you missed today, even if you wanted to find me, you wouldn't be able to find me. This is also your good fortune. Where are you going? Yang Kai understood the meaning behind her words. I'm not going anywhere. Hu Mei Er shook her head. While explaining, she secretly looked at Yang Kai's expression. After being lectured by you last time, I suddenly felt that my methods these past few years were wrong. Relying on those despicable methods to win people over, they don't care about blood group, but me. I can't give them what they want, so naturally they won't really work for the gang. Therefore, I decided to go into seclusion to cultivate. When I am strong, I can also share the burden of father, just like sister. You can think like this, it is a good thing. Yang Kai nodded. Hu Mei Er's expression couldn't help but be disappointed. She found that Yang Kai's expression was very calm from beginning to end, and didn't have any mood swings because of her words. Feeling slightly bitter, Hu Mei Er didn't have the mood to talk, and only continued to lead the way. Since she didn't speak, Yang Kai naturally wouldn't say anything. After walking for more than an hour, the two of them arrived at the Blood Group's mine. This was the center of Black Wind Forest, and in front of them was the Blood Group's mine. On the ground, there were some houses for the disciples to live and rest. Because the ore vein was underground, when Yang Kai and Hu Mei Er arrived, they didn't see the mine as lively. Only the ground had a large hole that led directly to the ground. Even from 1,000 feet away, Kai Yang could feel the Yang origin seal on his chest giving off a strong reaction. It was the reaction of the underground bright Yang stone. With the growth of his strength, the range of Yang Qi that the Yang inflammation stone could sense also increased, but the increase was not too much. The arrival of the two of them attracted the attention of the Blood Group's disciples on the ground. An old man suddenly descended from the sky and blocked in front of Yang Kai and Hu Mei Er. He cupped his fist and said, "Miss." Grandpa Long, Hu Mei Er affectionately called out and pulled Yang Kai to introduce him. "This is our gang's vice leader, Grandpa Long Zai Tian." Yang Kai hurriedly saluted. "Greetings, Senior Long." Long Zai Tian looked at Yang Kai with contempt and didn't pay attention to him. With his immortal ascension boundary strength and Blood Group's vice leader's position, why would he need to pay attention to Yang Kai, this small trash? Another gigolo who lived off a woman. Long Zai Tian especially despised people like Yang Kai. If it weren't for Hu Mei Er's face, he would have directly slapped Yang Kai to death. "Miss, what are you doing in the mine?" Long Zai Tian stroked his white beard and asked kindly, "This place is dirty and hot. It's not a place you can come. Quickly go back or else your father will scold me." "No, father, I don't dare to scold you. You are a senior member of the gang for 3 generations. Father will only respect you." Hu Mei Er acted like a spoiled child. Long Zai Tian's face immediately showed an expression of enjoyment. "Grandpa Long, my friend came to the mine to find a few disciples to buy some things. Can you give us some convenience and let us in?" Hu Mei Er said. To be continued. Chapter 60. Enter the mine? Long Zai Tian's face instantly fell as he vigilantly sized up Yang Kai and said, "He's not a disciple of the faction, right?" Yang Kai stepped forward and respectfully said, "I am a disciple of Sky Tower Pavilion." It's not that the faction's disciples aren't allowed to enter. Long Zai Tian angrily glared at him and said with disdain, "Even the faction's disciples can't casually enter the mine, let alone an outsider like you." After he finished speaking, he bitterly turned his head to look at Hu Mei Er and said, "Miss, how can you bring an outsider here? You're young and don't know the ways of the world. As the saying goes, it's hard to tell what's in a person's heart. You may know a person's face but not his heart. These past few years, because of this mine, our faction has earned a lot of money. Many people have been eyeing us with jealousy, especially those small fries who are trying to find out information about the mine. If it weren't for this old man overseeing this place all year round, who knows what kind of trouble would occur?" Yang Kai's face sank. This old man was pointing at the mulberry and cursing the locust tree. Hu Mei Er sensed Yang Kai's unhappiness and quickly said, "Grandpa Long, you've misunderstood. He didn't want to find out anything, he just wanted to buy something." Long Zai Tian sneered, "Buy something? How can you buy something here? This excuse is really interesting. Little brat, I don't care what your purpose is, scram for this old man. If you dare to appear here again, this old man won't be able to kill you. Yang Kai's stomach was filled with anger. This old man was too self-righteous. Although he was angry, Yang Kai knew that the difference in strength between them was too big. If they really fought, this old man would probably blow him to death with a single breath. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Yang Kai didn't say anything. If he were to clash with him now, the one who would suffer would be him. Coward! Long Zai Tian looked at Yang Kai and despised him even more. The true Yang Yuan Qi in Yang Kai's body uncontrollably surged as he angrily glared at Long Zai Tian. Sensing the change in the Yuan Qi in Yang Kai's body, Long Zai Tian flew into a rage. Impudent, you want to fight me? Then, for no reason at all, disregarding the difference in strength and seniority, he sent a palm strike towards Yang Kai. With this palm strike, Yang Kai found that he suddenly couldn't move. He could only stand there in a daze. This wasn't because he was scared, but because his opponent had used some kind of method to imprison him. Yang Kai's expression greatly changed. He really didn't think that this old guy would actually be so shameless. He could feel Long Zai Tian's attitude towards him, but he couldn't understand why. Now that he suddenly wanted to kill him, Yang Kai was truly shocked to the point that his soul almost left his body. With the aura of death looming over him, the enormous pressure brought about by this immortal ascension boundary master caused Yang Kai's heartbeat to stop at this moment, and his breathing became even more labored. In this desperate situation, a strong will to survive spread throughout his body. Suddenly, a scalding heat spread out from his bones and quickly spread out. In the next moment, Yang Kai found that the power that was imprisoning him suddenly disappeared. In a hurry, Yang Kai used all the strength in his body and fiercely dodged to the side. Long Zai Tian casually sent out a palm strike. He thought that this High Heaven Pavilion disciple would directly die under his palm, but what he didn't expect was that his opponent actually dodged. How is this possible? Long Zai Tian frowned. How could an immortal ascension boundary master's imprisonment be broken by him? Because he didn't think of this point, Long Zai Tian's casual palm strike didn't work. Although Long Zai Tian's attack didn't hit Yang Kai, it still made him extremely embarrassed. His face instantly paled, and his whole body was dripping with sweat. When he stood firm and looked at Long Zai Tian again, Yang Kai's eyes had a cold expression. If it was said that Yang Kai was just angry at Long Zai Tian's attitude towards him before, then now it was a deep hatred. The opponent didn't hide his intention to take his life, as if he wanted to casually pinch an ant to death. Long Zai Tian naturally understood this point. Although he didn't know why his imprisonment just now lost its effect, since he already had the intention to kill Yang Kai, how could he easily stop? In for a penny, in for a pound, he sent out another palm strike. At this time, Hu Mei Er woke up from her stupor and quickly dodged in front of Yang Kai. Glaring at Long Zai Tian, she hissed, "Grandpa Long, he's my friend. What do you want to do?" Those who attempt to inquire about the mining area will be killed without exception. This is the sect leader's order. Long Zai Tian deeply looked at Hu Mei Er, a trace of astonishment flashing through his eyes. In the past, Hu Mei Er had also frequently interacted with young men, but he had never seen her so desperately protect anyone. Towards the life or death of those young men, Hu Mei Er never cared. In other words, 8 out of 10 men who were provoked by her didn't have a good ending. But this time, she bravely stood in front of this High Heaven Pavilion disciple, and even used a fierce tone to question him. This was something that had never happened before. Long Zai Tian's eyes narrowed, as if he was deep in thought, his killing intent becoming even stronger. Hu Mei Er blocked Yang Kai behind her, gnashing her teeth as she glared at Long Zai Tian, saying, "I already said, my friend only came to buy some things, not to inquire about the mining area. Grandpa Long, do you not believe my words?" Seeing Hu Mei Er protect Yang Kai so strongly, Long Zai Tian couldn't continue to pester her endlessly, and could only say, "I don't dare." Young Miss words, this old man still believes them. Since that's the case, why do you still want to do this? This old man knows his wrongs, and hopes young Miss will forgive him. Blood Group was different from Storm House and High Heaven Pavilion. This was a family power, and the Hu family was the master, so even if Long Zai Tian was the vice leader, he still had to give Hu Mei Er some face. But this old man still asks young miss to forgive him. The mining area is a big matter. Outsiders are not allowed to enter. After Long Zai Tian finished speaking, he no longer paid attention to Hu Mei Er, looked at Yang Kai, and coldly snorted before turning to leave. Yang Kai took a deep breath and calmed the boiling blood in his chest, saying, "Old sir, please wait." Long Zai Tian impatiently turned his head, narrowing his eyes as he looked at Yang Kai, his eyes filled with killing intent. "Old sir, the current me is not your opponent." Yang Kai slowly walked in front of Hu Mei Er, looking at Long Zai Tian without fear. "So today's humiliation, I will bear it. But 5 years later, 10 years later, I will return this debt. I hope old sir can live until then." Yang Kai said very calmly, but very seriously. Long Zai Tian's expression turned cold, and immediately laughed. "Whether or not this old man can live until then, you don't need to worry, but I think you are destined to not live until then. Arrogant brat, be careful in the future." "I will." Long Zai Tian left, and Hu Mei Er looked at Yang Kai apologetically, repeatedly apologizing. I'm sorry, I didn't know why Grandpa Long was like this. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have brought you here." "It's fine." Taking a deep breath, Kai Yang recalled the thrilling scene from a moment ago. He still had some lingering fear in his heart. If it wasn't for the unyielding golden skeleton at that critical moment, he feared that he would have already died. It was because of that boiling heat that he was able to break free from Long Zai Tian's imprisonment and escape death. Chapter 61. Why would Long Zai Tian target him? Yang Kai glanced at Hu Mei Er, whose eyes were full of regret and guilt. His heart faintly understood. Some things were not necessary to ask. Hu Mei Er was also an intelligent and quick-witted girl. Although Kai Yang had only glanced at her once, she was able to understand what he meant. "Grandpa Long did not allow you to enter the mine. I also did not want to give him face. How about this? I will help you buy those seeds. You wait for me here for a while." Hu Mei Er said softly. "Okay." Kai Yang knew that this was the only thing he could do, so he took out all of his valuables and told Hu Mei Er the names of the Blood Group disciples who had picked up the seedlings. He had already inquired about this matter from the stall owner in Black Wind Trade. Hu Mei Er entered the underground mine. Yang Kai's eyes swept the several rooms above ground. Long Zai Tian had entered one of the rooms. He could feel that there was a pair of eyes staring at him. Inside the room, an old man and a young man were standing by the window looking at Yang Kai's direction. The old man was Long Zai Tian, who had just attacked Yang Kai. The young man was about the same age as Yang Kai. He was Long Zai Tian's grandson, Long Hui. Long Hui coldly looked at Yang Kai. He said with some dissatisfaction, "Grandpa, why didn't you kill him?" Long Zai Tian coldly snorted, "Mei Er is protecting him. How do you want me to kill him?" "That's even more reason to kill him. I have never seen Sister Mei Er so attentive to a man. This brat and Mei Er's relationship is not bad. Leaving him alive is definitely a disaster. And I have never seen Mei Er protect anyone like this before. This time, for him, she even contradicted me. This is not normal." Long Zai Tian frowned. Long Hui was extremely jealous. "Mei Er is now in the mine. Grandpa, do you want to make a move again?" Long Zai Tian looked at Long Hui with some resentment. "Grandpa making a move is not a problem. Killing him is also easy. But if because of his death, Mei Er will have resentment towards you, do you think it is worth it?" Long Hui was startled and shook his head. "It is not worth it. But do you want to let him and Mei Er develop like this? I cannot stand it." Long Zai Tian couldn't help but sigh. "Learn more from your big brother. See how he deals with the woman he likes. If you want Mei Er, you have to put in more effort. Grandfather can help you kill people, but I can't help you obtain a woman's heart, right? Hu Man has never had a son in his life. He only has Jiao Er and Mei Er, these 2 daughters. If you and your elder brother can capture both of them, Then in the future, the blood group will belong to my Long family. My Long family's 3 generations have worked hard for the blood group for decades. It's time to taste the taste of being a master. Hearing this, Long Hui felt his blood boil. He nodded and said, "It's my Long family's turn to be the master." Rest assured, grandfather, or will not be able to escape. Big brother will definitely be able to capture Hu Jiao heir. It's good that you have this ambition. Long Zai Tian smiled and nodded. Long Hui bitterly looked at Yang Kai in the distance, still somewhat restless. "Grandpa, then this person, find your own chance. He's not that strong, you can handle him." Long Hui smiled coldly. He couldn't make a move now, after all. Hu Mei heir would come out later, but since he was a disciple of the Sky Tower Pavilion, he couldn't escape. Yang Kai waited outside for a while before Hu Mei heir came out dripping with fragrant sweat. With a smile on her face, she stuffed 4 seeds into Yang Kai's hand. "Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. Since the blood group's miss wanted to buy something, how could the disciples dare not sell it?" "Thank you." Yang Kai carefully put the 4 seeds into his bosom. Standing in the same place for a long time, Yang Kai struggled to say, "You helped me once, I'll return the favor." Hu Mei heir looked at him strangely. "What do you mean?" Yang Kai waved his hand. "You follow me." Although Hu Mei heir didn't know what he wanted to do, she still obediently followed him. After walking for about 300 feet, Yang Kai suddenly stopped and lightly stamped his foot. "Remember where I am standing now. About 70 feet underground, there should be some unusual things." Hu Mei heir's eyes widened, puzzled. "How do you know?" Yang Kai muttered, "I practice a type of martial skill. As long as there is yang attribute energy within a certain range, I can feel it. There is a yang attribute treasure here. The energy it emits is thousands of times purer than the yang inflammation stone." When he had first arrived here, Kai Yang had felt that this place was different from other places, but after considering it for a long time, he still decided to tell Hu Mei heir this news. Firstly, this was the blood group's territory, so even if he coveted it, he wouldn't be able to obtain it. Secondly, he really did want to repay Hu Mei heir's favor. Today, when she had helped him, Kai Yang had seen it all. Hearing Yang Kai's words, Hu Mei heir was startled. "Do you believe me?" "I believe." Hu Mei heir answered very straightforwardly. This made Yang Kai feel a little moved. "Then it's fine." Yang Kai smiled. "Although I don't know what is below, this thing's value is definitely not low. Besides this, there seems to be something else, but I can't feel what it is. But I reckon that the secret hidden below is the root of the blood group's mining area, or it could be said that because of its existence, there is an underground mine here." Hu Mei heir couldn't help but be moved. If what Yang Kai said was true, then the secret below was absolutely important. "You are a smart girl, you should know what to do," Yang Kai solemnly said. "I understand." Hu Mei heir nodded repeatedly. "Well, let's go," Yang Kai said with a smile. Walking in the dense forest, Hu Mei heir and Yang Kai didn't speak again, only enjoying this moment of tranquility. Hu Mei heir was very happy, because Yang Kai told her such important information. It was clear that his impression of her had greatly changed. She still remembered that last time, he didn't give her any face, ordering her around. But this time was different, he was much gentler to her. "Let's part here." Yang Kai suddenly stopped his footsteps, causing Hu Mei heir to stare blankly. Unknowingly, the two of them had already arrived at the fork in the road. Time passed so quickly. Hu Mei heir was somewhat resentful. "Goodbye," Yang Kai said and hurriedly walked towards High Heaven Pavilion. What a free and easy man. Hu Mei heir smiled bitterly. Chapter 62. Beside the coiling dragon stream, Yang Kai was concentrating on cultivating. Not far from him, there were several Three Suns fruit trees growing healthily. The largest tree had already borne 3 fruits and was about to ripen. The smallest one was just a small sapling that had just broken through the ground. Since the day he returned from the blood group's mining area, Yang Kai had been cultivating here, day and night, forgetting to eat and sleep. Long Zai-Tian's unreasonable actions had made him hold back his desire to become stronger. That humiliation, sooner or later, he would take it back with his own 2 hands. After nearly 10 days of bitter cultivation, the tempered body 9th stage had already faintly reached the peak. Seeing that he was about to break through, Yang Kai felt helpless. He knew that breaking through a large realm required some opportunities, and it was not as easy as breaking through a small realm. Even if the Yuan Qi in his body was enough, he still needed to find the right opportunity to comprehend what he needed to comprehend. Speaking of which, these days of cultivation could be considered smooth sailing. Every day, he did not need to sweep the floor, so he had more time to cultivate. The 3-leaved Chaos Spirit Flower and Dead Jedi Tree Grass had long been used up. Without the suppression of the strange fragrance, the true Yang tactic circulation speed was significantly faster than before. This made it easier for Yang Kai to absorb the Yang Qi from heaven and earth. However, the Yang liquid that he had condensed these days was all used to catalyze the 3 suns fruit seeds. There was not a single drop left in the Dantian. The energy of heaven and earth gathered around him, waiting for Yang Kai to break through the mysteries of the initial element stage. Then it would pour into his body and cleanse his body. However, sitting cross-legged on the ground, Yang Kai did not succeed. After a day and a night, Yang Kai was still stagnant. Although his mood was not anxious, he was unable to break through the shackles that bound him. It was really strange. Deep in the night, under the vast star field, beside the coiling dragon stream, Yang Kai suddenly fell into a state of hesitation. His Yuan Qi was slightly disordered, and a painful expression appeared between his brows. Not far away, Xianxia, who was quietly watching Yang Kai, couldn't help but let out a soft cry of surprise. Although he was quite a distance away, Xianxia could still feel the unusual fluctuation of Yuan Qi. This fluctuation of Yuan Qi contained a cold and evil aura. How could this be? This was clearly a sign that a misfire would become the demon race. He had only broken through from body tempering stage level 9 to the initial element stage, so how could he possibly become the demon race? To put it bluntly, a weak cultivator like Yang Kai was not qualified to become the demon race even if he wanted to. Only when one's strength was one step higher would such a situation occur in the process of cultivation. But now, this kind of thing was really about to happen to Yang Kai. Xianxia's beautiful eyebrows slightly wrinkled. She couldn't understand. She was here because she found it herself. After all, she had silently observed Yang Kai for more than 2 years and had long since become a habit. These days, Yang Kai's sudden disappearance gave birth to a feeling of loneliness for no reason. It was as if she had lost interest in doing anything. After searching everywhere, she finally found him beside the coiling dragon stream. Only then did a big stone fall from her heart. After arriving here, Xianxia knew that Yang Kai was about to break through. After waiting for an entire day, Yang Kai actually did not succeed. Now that such a strange thing had happened, how could she not be puzzled? Just as Xianxia was secretly anxious, a pure and rich hot aura suddenly gushed out of Yang Kai's body. With this aura gushing out, the traces of the misfire that had become the demon race were instantly burned away. Yang Kai's Yuan Qi fluctuations immediately stabilized. True Yang energy. Xianxia's small mouth opened slightly, her beautiful eyes filled with surprise. She almost exclaimed, "How can it be so pure?" That hot aura was clearly Yang energy. Many of the High Heaven Pavilion disciples cultivated fire or Yang attribute martial skills and had this kind of hot Yuan Qi in their bodies. However, no matter which disciple it was, they were far from being as pure as Yang Kai's. This hot aura was not too strong. After all, Yang Kai's strength was not high, but it was exceptionally clean, without the slightest impurities, like an unpolluted water source. Before she could recover, Xianxia discovered that Yang Kai had once again fallen into that misfire that had become the demon race. A somewhat evil aura replaced the hot Yuan Qi and slowly spread out from Yang Kai's body. After a while, another burst of true Yang energy erupted, suppressing this evil aura and allowing Yang Kai to recover. This repeated several times, leaving Xianxia dumbfounded. She had never seen such a bizarre situation occur when a cultivator was breaking through to the initial element realm. Generally speaking, breaking through to the initial element realm was indeed met with some resistance. But after all, this realm was very low and could be broken through with a little effort. However, Yang Kai's current situation was obviously different. The resistance he faced was greater than anyone else, and it was already comparable to the difficulty of breaking through to the next realm. Yang Kai was also suffering unspeakably. Just a moment ago, he had faintly glimpsed a trace of mystery and had already taken one step into the threshold of the initial element realm. However, at this moment, the bones in his body suddenly emitted an evil aura, almost causing him to lose his mind. Fortunately, the true Yang Yuan Qi in his body erupted, waking him up. Now, there were two types of energy fighting in his body. One was the true Yang Yuan Qi that he cultivated, and the other was the evil aura emitted from his bones. They fought endlessly, using his body as a battlefield. Sometimes, the evil aura would gain the upper hand, and then his mind would become somewhat unclear. A sense of excitement and bloodlust surged in his heart, and he could not wait to find someone to kill. This feeling was similar to the excitement one would feel after being injured, but there was something different about it. Although he was excited and bloodthirsty when he was injured in battle, his mind was clear. Sometimes, the true Yang Yuan Qi would gain the upper hand, and his mind would be clear and his body would feel comfortable. The fight was endless, and it seemed like there was no winner or loser. Yang Kai was suffering to death. Xianxia dashed through High Heaven Pavilion, wearing a tight black suit, showing off her graceful figure without a doubt. Her slender waist and slender legs were enough to cause people to daydream. Her beautiful hair was tied behind her head, and her face was covered with a black cloth. She quickly rushed over to Yang Kai. She watched for a long time, and her heart was really worried for Yang Kai. After thinking it over, she decided to help Yang Kai. Generally speaking, a person should not be disturbed when they were breaking through, but Xianxia could clearly feel the surging battle intent in Yang Kai's body. It was a battle intent that longed for a baptism of blood. Only a battle could free him from this endless cycle. So Xianxia first returned to her residence and changed her clothes. Otherwise, she was afraid that he would recognize her. After all, they had met before. Coming and going in a hurry, when she returned to the coiling dragon stream, Yang Kai was still in torment, and his movements seemed to be a bit louder than before. Without the slightest hesitation, Xianxia directly threw herself at Yang Kai, her beautiful eyes surging with killing intent as she sent out a palm strike. Chapter 63. Since she had already decided to help him, Xianxia naturally didn't dare to reveal any flaws. She could only force Yang Kai to use all her strength to help him break through. Therefore, Xianxia used a killing move with the first palm strike. Yang Kai's strength was at the 9th level of the body-tempering realm, while Xianxia only used the strength of the 3rd or 3rd level of the initial element realm. Yang Kai, who was at a critical juncture, suddenly felt a sense of danger. He couldn't help but feel a chill all over his body. He couldn't help but feel a sense of crisis. Just as he was feeling puzzled, the sound of a palm strike whistling through the air came from the side. Someone was sneak attacking him. Yang Kai suddenly realized. Instead of being shocked, he was happy. He quickly jumped up from the ground, turned around, and threw a punch. The battle intent in his body was raging. He was worried about how to vent it, but he didn't expect someone to deliver themselves to him. Who was it that wanted to sneak attack him was no longer within the scope of Yang Kai's consideration. Right now, he only wanted to fight to his heart's content. With a bang, the Yuan Qi surged. Yang Kai staggered back a few steps. Xianxia used the force to do a somersault and steadily landed on the ground. A trace of surprise flashed through her beautiful eyes. Although she had only used the strength of the 3rd level of the initial element realm, she shouldn't have been able to fight evenly with him. She should have been able to suppress him steadily. After exchanging a blow, Yang Kai used the moonlight to clearly see the figure of the attacker. It was a woman, but her face was covered with a black cloth, so he couldn't see her face. Why is it a little girl? Yang Kai frowned and muttered with some dissatisfaction. When Xianxia heard this, she was so angry that she trembled. She clenched her teeth and lightly flew over. The yuan qi in her palm surged, turning into a sky full of palm shadows, and covered Yang Kai's head. What he said just now made her very angry. Yang Kai let out a low roar and unleashed all of his strength. Yuan qi circulated around his fists, and in an instant, he exchanged blows with Xianxia. Although his opponent was a woman, Yang Kai didn't show any mercy. His opponent's strength was clearly higher than his, and every move she made was a killing technique. He didn't dare to be careless. In the blink of an eye, Yang Kai and Xianxia were locked in battle, but the situation was obviously not in Yang Kai's favor. His moves were heavy and powerful, and although the lethality was fierce, they were far from Xianxia's nimble and versatile moves. When Yang Kai made 2 moves, Xianxia could make 3 moves. Furthermore, Xianxia's body was light and graceful, and as he moved around he only played with Yang Kai like a monkey. It could be said that Yang Kai was frustrated at every turn. He could sense that the other party's strength was slightly higher than his, but he would never have thought that the other party was only suppressing his true strength to fight him. Facing such an enemy, it would be strange if he could hit her. Under the black mask, Xianxia's angry little mouth slowly formed a smile. She thought to herself, "Who told you to talk nonsense? You deserve to be beaten." In just a few moments, Yang Kai's entire body was in pain from the beating. As the familiar pain spread throughout his body, the blood in his body became excited once again, surging like a great river. If one listened carefully, they could even hear the sound of waves slapping against the table. The warmth in his body spread out, and his strength rose steadily. Xianxia's eyes showed a dignified expression. She found that the yuan qi in this junior brother's body was surging more and more vigorously, and his strength was gradually breaking through the body-tempering realm and reaching the initial element realm. Moreover, it didn't stop there, and was slowly but steadily increasing. The punches that carried the yuan qi became faster and stronger. Xianxia was faintly unable to bear it. She wanted to increase her strength, but she was somewhat unwilling, so she could only grit her teeth and endure. "Who told you to kill me?" In the midst of the fierce battle, Yang Kai suddenly asked with a gloomy face and a low voice. Xianxia didn't answer, and tried her best to resolve Yang Kai's moves. After fighting for so long, Kai Yang's strength was actually on par with his own, and he couldn't gain the upper hand at all. Every time he was swept by Kai Yang's fists, he would have to divert some of his attention to neutralize the pure yang qi invading his body. Xianxia was shocked. She found that she had underestimated the purity of this yang qi. This purity was not something that could be cultivated by ordinary martial arts. Once again, in a head-on confrontation, Yang Kai and Xianxia's palms crossed, but neither side retreated. Yang Kai narrowed his eyes and stared at the woman in front of him. His gaze fell on her forehead, where there was a faint mark. Yang Kai said, "I found that you look like a senior sister of mine." Xianxia was resisting the invasion of Yang Kai's yang qi. When she heard this, she was stunned. When did she expose herself? How could she know that it was precisely because of the faint mark on her forehead that Yang Kai would suspect her? Yang Kai remembered that senior sister Xia had a sapphire pendant on her forehead, right where the mark was. Xianxia nervously blinked her eyes, her long eyelashes trembling incessantly. Laughing out loud, Kai Yang suddenly grabbed her wrist and fiercely pulled her into his embrace. Reaching out, he pulled off her face scarf. At this time, Xianxia suddenly came back to her senses. She did not want to see her real face. First, she wanted to put pressure on Yang Kai, and second, she was a little embarrassed. After all, what happened last time was too embarrassing. How could she be willing to let him take off her mask now? In a moment of desperation, he could no longer suppress his strength. A ferocious burst of world qi burst out, causing Kai Yang to cry out strangely. He was directly sent flying far away, tumbling several times on the ground. When he got up again, that woman was nowhere to be seen. He did not know where she had run off to. Could it be true? Yang Kai pondered. He had just said it casually, but he did not expect the other party to have such a big reaction. Moreover, that last burst of Yuan Qi made Yang Kai realize that there was a big gap between their strength. If she really wanted to kill him, it would be a piece of cake. Why would she need to fight with him for so long? Whether it was true or not was no longer important. Yang Kai felt that the shackles on his body had been broken after that battle. He quickly sat down cross-legged and carefully felt the energy between heaven and earth. In the next moment, the energy of heaven and earth surged, fiercely pouring into Yang Kai. Yang Kai took a deep breath, and all the pores on his body opened up like a whale sucking in water. He absorbed all the energy of heaven and earth into his body, guiding the enormous power of heaven and earth to circulate in his body, cleansing his body. This was an opportunity that every cultivator would have when they broke through a big realm. As for how much benefit they would get, it would depend on their own efforts. 1,000 feet away, Xianxia panicked as she clutched her chest. She didn't think that Kai Yang would be able to see through her identity. Fortunately, she had helped him break through, so her efforts weren't in vain. While she was panicking, a figure suddenly appeared beside her. An old man wearing simple clothes suddenly appeared. The old man had white hair and a kind appearance. After seeing the other party's face, Xianxia hurriedly said respectfully, "Greetings, martial uncle sect master." The old man smiled kindly, "You are not a disciple of High Heaven Pavilion, so there is no need to be so polite." Xianxia said softly, "But sect master and master are good friends, so naturally you are my martial uncle." Chapter 64. Seeing that Xianxia was so obedient and sensible, the sect master couldn't help but laugh. "Meng Wuya is really lucky to have such a good disciple like you." Thinking of his two disciples, the sect master let out a long sigh. Xianxia obviously knew about his past. Seeing his gloomy expression, he didn't know how to comfort him and could only remain silent. The sect master silently stretched out his hand to block the sky and pushed towards Yang Kai. In an instant, Xianxia felt that the heaven and earth were separated, as if there was an invisible hand blocking anyone's prying eyes. This brat's breakthrough this time should have caused quite a commotion. It's better to take precautions to avoid being discovered. The sect master explained. Xianxia felt a bit strange. He didn't understand why this sect master, who rarely appeared in front of others, was so attentive to Yang Kai. Although he was puzzled, he didn't dare to ask. The old man and the young man were separated by a distance of 100 feet, watching the situation on Yang Kai's side. The heaven and earth energy entered Yang Kai's body, impacting and tempering every inch of his flesh and skin. Although he couldn't feel the fluctuations of the Yuan Qi, he could see with the naked eye that Yang Kai was within 100 feet of him. It was obvious that the commotion was not small. He had just broken through to the initial element realm. How could this be? Xianxia really couldn't understand. As time passed, Yang Kai's body slowly swelled up like an inflated balloon. His skinny body grew fatter for no reason. This was because too much heaven and earth energy had entered his body. Just as Xianxia was secretly worried about him, his body suddenly shrunk back and returned to its original size. Even with the sect master's method of blocking, Xianxia could still feel the fluctuations of the Yuan Qi that made his heart palpitate. What was even more shocking was that after Yang Kai had completely absorbed the heaven and earth energy, a fiery red energy visible to the naked eye burst out from the coiling dragon stream in front of him. This energy was like a red ribbon that rose from the bottom of the coiling dragon stream and drilled into Yang Kai's pores. Xianxia understood that Yang Kai's first absorption was of heaven and earth energy, but the second absorption was of Yang essence Qi. Although it was also a type of heaven and earth energy, it was of a single attribute. After the Yang Yuan Qi was completely absorbed by Yang Kai, the commotion over there suddenly subsided. "It's done." The sect leader smiled and removed the restriction on that side with a flick of his finger. His figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. His faint voice sounded in Xianxia's ears, "Say hello to your master for me." "Yes." Xianxia responded respectfully. Then, He had time to check on the results of Yang Kai's breakthrough. With just one glance, Xianxia was stunned. Second level of the initial element realm. She almost thought that her perception was wrong, so she checked again worriedly. She found that Yang Kai had really reached level 2 of the initial element state. This time, not only did he break through a large realm, but he also broke through a small realm on top of this foundation. Was she dreaming? Xianxia had a special physique. Since his cultivation until now, he had made rapid progress. However, every time he broke through, it was one step at a time. He had never broken through 2 levels at once. Today, seeing Yang Kai achieve such a feat with his own eyes, how could he not be surprised? Just as he was surprised, Yang Kai, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground, suddenly muttered to himself, "So that's how it is." As soon as his voice fell, the yuan qi fluctuations on his body became stronger. Third level of the initial element state. Monster! Xianxia didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His confidence was once again hit. After staying in place for another 2 hours to make sure that Yang Kai wouldn't suddenly break through, Xianxia sighed in relief and quietly left. Yang Kai sat at the edge of the coiling dragon stream all night. He didn't cultivate the true Yang tactics, but instead used his heart to feel and comprehend the insights of last night's breakthrough. After last night's breakthrough, 2 kinds of energy poured into his body. One was the power of heaven and earth, but this energy wasn't absorbed into the dantian. Besides a part of it being used to temper his body, the rest was absorbed by his bones. The second was the yang yuan qi absorbed from the bottom of the coiling dragon stream. This had become his own and had already turned into 5 drops of yang liquid, quietly settling in the dantian. After thinking for a whole night, Yang Kai finally figured out a general idea. The unyielding golden skeleton could increase his combat strength when he was injured or felt pain, but this increase in combat strength also required energy to support it. It couldn't be produced for no reason. Thinking about it this way, it wasn't difficult to explain why it could absorb the power of heaven and earth. The power of heaven and earth was absorbed by it, and when he needed it, it would give back to him. This was the mystery of the unyielding golden skeleton, and also the fundamental reason why it could increase his combat strength. For a long time, Yang Kai thought that he could only absorb Yang attribute energy. After all, he cultivated the true Yang tactics. Now it seemed that this problem was worth experimenting with. If he could really absorb energy other than the Yang attribute, then his cultivation in the future would be much faster. This discovery made Yang Kai somewhat happy. Although the true Yang tactics was powerful, after all, it had its limitations. If his guess was correct, then he wouldn't have to worry about his cultivation environment in the future. Letting out a long breath, Yang Kai stood up and carefully felt his body. He had indeed broken through, and unexpectedly broke through to the initial element 3rd stage in one fell swoop. Thinking about the 2 enormous amounts of energy that poured into his body last night, Yang Kai was relieved. When the yuan qi in the body first opened, it was at the initial element stage. Although Yang Kai already had a lot of yuan qi in his body, this breakthrough was still significant. The yuan qi in his body formed a large cycle, connecting the heavens and earth, and the true Yang tactics once again sped up. Moreover, after breaking through to this stage, to some extent, it was much easier to cultivate compared to the tempered body stage. Of course, the premise was that you had a good cultivation environment. Walking back from the coiling dragon stream, Yang Kai felt both physically and mentally comfortable. After breaking through to this stage, he now felt that the world was somewhat different, and his eyes and ears were much clearer. Within 50 feet, he could even faintly feel a person's breathing. While walking towards the wooden house, Yang Kai suddenly heard a familiar scream. After pausing and listening for a moment, he couldn't help but laugh. Why was Sassafras being beaten again? But this was inside the sect. If he was beaten, then it should be a challenge. If his skills were not as good as others, then he couldn't blame others. Since there was nothing to do, Yang Kai decided to go and watch the show. Within the High Heaven Pavilion, as long as there was a challenge, anywhere could be a battlefield. The place where Sassafras was beaten was not far from Yang Kai, so after walking a short distance, he arrived. There were quite a few people gathered there. Sweeping his eyes over them, Kai Yong discovered that the people there were divided into two groups. They were clearly divided, and the smell of gunpowder filled the air. Li Yuntian and Zhao Hu, who he was familiar with, were all there, but their expressions were somewhat angry. They were currently confronting another group of people. The situation was not right. Yang Kai frowned as he saw this. When comparing notes between sect disciples, no matter who won or lost, it would definitely not end up like this. Li Yuntian and the others clearly looked like they were filled with righteous indignation and wanted to fight. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.